العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Respected brothers and sisters in Islam, first we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala once again. Allah has afforded us and granted us the tawfiq to have performed our Maghrieb Salaah with Jama'ah, alhamdulillah. And we make dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our salah. Allah grant us sincerity and istiqamah, ameen rabbil alameen. Just a revision again, inshallah, of the three ahadith that we have discussed for the past few mornings. And we have completed this morning the chapter regarding children in the masjid, children in the masajid. It is three ahadith of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and very beautiful lessons we can take from it. The first hadith عن عبد الله بن مسعود رضي الله عنه قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يصلي فإذا سجد وثب الحسن والحسين على ظهره فإذا منعوهما أشار إليهم أن دعوهما فلما قضى الصلاة وضعهما في حجره فقال من أحبني فليحب هذين أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu narrates that there were times when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would make salah, and Hassan and Hussein radiallahu anhuma would jump on the back of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Like how every child, when the father performs salah, especially those of us who have children, we all have experiences. When you go in sajda, then the kids come and jump on top of your back. Now Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Sahaba radiallahu anhu say Rasul sallallahu used to perform sometimes salah, and then his two grandchildren Hassan and Hussein would jump on the back of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then the companions would try to prevent them from doing so. So the Sahaba radiallahu anhu would see this and they would try and stop them. But then Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam would prevent them from doing so. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam would indicate to them that leave them. And when the prayer concluded, he placed them on his lap and he said regarding Hassan Hussein radiallahu anhu, whoever loves me should love these two radiallahu anhum ajma'een. So here, my beloved brothers, beautiful lessons we learn from the hadith. And as we have mentioned in the previous mornings, that here the author explains that every responsible and God-conscious parent knows the importance of nurturing their children in a manner that conforms with the Islamic ethos and principle. One of the most pivotal responsibilities that is placed on the shoulders is to create an Islamic environment for their children. And this hadith demonstrates exactly that. That how Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam allowed his grandchildren, and how Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam had sabr and how he tolerated them. And at the end of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam beautifully says in this hadith that those who love me, those who claim to love me, they should love these two, Hassan Hussein as well. And here we learn again also importance of having a connection with the Ahlul Bayt of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Many times you don't read about the family of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or we ignore the family of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why? Because of certain beliefs out there. And now we become weary and scared. Rather, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is taught us when it comes to teaching your children, he says that أَدِّبُ أَوْلَادَكُمْ ثَلَاثَ خِصَالٍ. That teach your children three things. Educate and teach them three things. The first one, حُبَّ النَّبِيِّ, to love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to love Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then connected to that, وَأَهْلِ بَيْتِهِ, and loving the family of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We need to read to them stories. They need to know who these people were and who these great personalities were. And then the third thing Rasul says, حُبُّ تِلَاوَةِ الْقُرْآنِ, and the love for the reading and the recitation of the Quran. So in this hadith, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam demonstrates beautifully that the vision he had for this ummah, that how children should be educated and how they should be nurtured in terms of setting an Islamic environment and being part of the family when making salah, and not excluding them, let them carry on with playing. Rather, that should be a motivation, that one day it should be a reminder for us that one day these children will carry on the legacy, and that is the five salawat and being punctual on the salat Allah commanded us with. And then the second hadith, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, beautiful, and Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, and the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم والله إني لأسمع بكاء الصبي وأنا في الصلاة فأخفف مخافة أن تفتن أمه. So here Rasul صلى الله عليه وسلم again demonstrating to us a very important lesson, that Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu, he says that indeed I heard the crying, Rasul sallam said, I heard the crying of a small boy whilst I was praying. And many times this happens to us. We're in salah, and then we hear a child crying. So Rasul Sallam one day was making salah and he heard a small boy crying in the masjid. And what was the response of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Did he become agitated? Did he stand up and shout at that mother or that parent? Look at the response of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He says, so my salah in I shortened my salah fearing that I would bring some difficulty on that mother. So when Rasul Sallam immediately heard this child crying in the masjid, the first thing Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam showed compassion. That, Ya Allah, this mother might be going through difficulty while this child is crying and she's worrying. So for that reason, Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam shortened his salah. In one narration, it is mentioned that he wanted to lengthen his salah. But because of the crying of the child, he shortened his salah. And this is a perfect, as the ulama mentioned, this was a perfect opportunity if it was that Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wanted to prevent children from coming to the masjid. This would have been the perfect opportunity to say that, look here, don't bring your children to the masjid. Rather, Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam shortened the salah to accommodate for them, teaching us that sometimes we need to be tolerant, we need to tolerate. We shouldn't work ourselves up. We should tolerate when children is in the masjid. And also the ulama has mentioned that many times we hear people using the hadith of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that says that we should prevent our kids and the insane from entering the masjid. And most of the muhaddithun say this hadith is very weak. This hadith is very weak and it goes contrary to the teachings. It goes contrary to the teachings in Sahih hadith of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, encouraging the youngsters to come to the masjid. And in the last hadith is where Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sent one day a companion out, a messenger to the people in one of the villages outside of Medina to command them to fast the 10th of Muharram. And Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told them that whoever intended to fast, they should continue fasting. Whoever wants to fast, whoever is not fasting, they must fast for the rest of the day. And then at the end of the hadith, the lesson we take is where the hadith mentioned that the mothers of the Sahabiyat, that they say that they used to encourage, not only did they fast, but they encouraged the small ones to fast as well. And then they would go to the masjid with the small ones. They would go with the children to the masjid, and they would make for them toys made out of wool. In the masjid, they would sit, the mothers would sit. Imagine the mothers would sit and the children used to play in the masjid. They would make toys of wool, and when they start crying and they're hungry, they would give them these toys to play with to distract them from their hunger. Again, teaching us that how important the masjid is. It's not only a place for worship, but it's a place where fun things can happen as well, where children should feel at home. And we, as the adults in the masjid, we should tolerate. We should tolerate and we should make a bit of sabr and say that, Ya Allah, these are the generation of tomorrow. As that is mentioned, the author says in the Ottoman Empire, many of the masajid is written that if you do not hear the noise in the back of the masjid, then fear the generation to come. Because they are those who are making a noise, they will be the muazzins of tomorrow, they will be the imams of tomorrow, they will be the musallis of tomorrow. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the love for the masajid, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instill this love to our children as well. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Subhanallah.